Okay, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting of the Del Norte Local Transportation Commission into session. Is July 9th. It is 11 o'clock. Before we start,
But I'm still glad everybody did.
it is, what did I say?
Just
July? Well, you all are early. All right, June 9th, for the record. And let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask Commissioner Howard to lead us.
Please stand. Pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Inscore,
Here.
Commissioner Howard,
Present.
Commissioner Murray,
Here.
Commissioner Short,
Here.
Policy Advisory Member Tucker,
Here.
Chairman Finnegan,
Here.
and for the record, Commissioner Hemmingson is absent.
Okay. So let's go to public comment. Any member of the public may address this board on any issue that's in the purview of the board. Anybody have any public comments? If it's something that's on the agenda later and you want to wait till then, that's fine. If not, that's fine too. Public comment. And I just ask you to come forward to identify yourself and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes, but who's counting?
I am.
Hi. My name's Tim Haben. I brought my family with me, a portion of them today. There's a lot of them missing, but we are interested in bringing to the board concern about Highway 199 and the Elk Valley Crossroad. Today's my mother's 81st birthday. She was killed there last July or 2 July ago. So it's been a big concern. I've lived there for 31 years, 100 yards away, and there's been countless fatalities. And we'd just like to open up some dialogue with you guys to take to the Caltrans and see if they could do something in the form of possibly a roundabout. I'm sure you all know what a roundabout is. I think it's a real safe policy there. The problem there is speed. It's really hard for trucks and automobiles to slow down at 55, 60 miles an hour, but this particular design, you can go to Caltrans and look it up, and it makes you slow down. So we just want to see if something can be done there. Thank you, and I'll do anything I can do to help.
Appreciate it, Tim. I know that it's been, and maybe you want to address, we don't usually banter back and forth with public comment, but it has been addressed and is being addressed. I'm not sure that we took a look at the roundabout yet, though.
Well, that location is a continual concern for all of us. We're certainly aware, Caltrans is certainly aware of the high accident rate there. I know that they've tried many, many things in the past. Certainly they haven't tried a roundabout, but a roundabout takes a lot of different criteria. Different things need to be in place before you can put a roundabout in, but it's something that we can certainly discuss and bring back to you or to a commission meeting, whatever would be more comfortable. If you'd like for me to contact you directly,
Well, let's do
we
both.
can do that.
And contact him and family, but also with us as well. A lot of times when you ask for something that's a little bit out of reach, like perhaps a roundabout, it still results in some sort of a compromise that is a definite improvement.
Correct.
And so it's a great way to enhance the conversation, if you will.
Or a study done to see if it's feasible.
There already have embarked on some of those, because especially, unfortunately, because of your mom. But we will. It's on our radar screen, and we're just going to boost it a little bit higher with your help.
Okay, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay. Seeing no public comment at this time, then we're going to conduct a public hearing to gather information on unmet transit needs. Do we have some verbiage we need to do to open the public hearing?
We do. The the state of California requires an unmet needs hearing process. The Transportation Commission for Del Norte goes beyond what our requirements are for this process. It's a little bit different for us than in some regions in the state because we allocate 100% of our transit funding to transit purposes. But that being said, we move forward with the full process. We will have the hearing today. If the agenda moves forward as I anticipate, there will be a notice in the triplicate on Saturday that will be the formal 30-day notice. I felt like, given all factors, it was just important to, do this as thoroughly as possible. So we'll have a second hearing in the July meeting.
Okay, so it's today is the first meeting.
But today is the
Correct.
first hearing. There will be an additional hearing in July. But I really felt like it was important for us to take action on our response to the performance audit before we move forward with the public hearing. So as we work our way through the agenda, that may make more sense. So again,
Okay,
I
so
wanted
what
to
I'm
have...
going to do then is, since the response agenda is under policy, the response rather on the performance audit is under policy and administrative, I'm going to officially open the public hearing on unmet transit needs. If anybody wishes to speak at this time, fine. If you wish to speak, it wasn't itemized under policy administrative, should it have been?
No, it's...
Okay.
We will have a second hearing in July.
Okay. So at this time, if anybody wishes to, we're going to open the public hearing. Any member of the public wishes to speak on unmet transit needs may do so at this time, or you may do so at the next meeting. Any such people wish to address? And I'm going to also state for the record, although it is not completely official, that if you speak at this, it will count as you speaking at the next one as well. In other words, we're not going to have the same people testifying twice during a public hearing.
But there hasn't been a 30-day notice yet for the hearing.
Okay, you probably know the rules better than I do on this. I'm just stating, I'm not going to give you several bites of the apple. Please continue with your public comments.
Okay, I'm here today. So, first of all, in order to attend meetings, such as government meetings, I think we should begin at a quarter after the hour, because I take the bus and it's impossible to get here on the hour, because the bus comes on the hour and it takes about 15 minutes to walk here. Second of all, I think
Identify yourself, please, for the record.
Second of all, I take the bus, and I noticed in Humboldt that they have a very good policy that makes transportation much more flexible for people who have to do various commutes in town. They must transfer right now at Front Street. And that's crazy when you have to go from one place to another. It ought to be more flexible. In Humboldt, they have like a day rate where you pay a bit more than one fare for the day and hop on and off wherever you want. Third, I think education is inhibited in this community, higher education. The reason why is because a rate for higher education going to Humboldt by bus is unaffordable. It's a big obstacle. $35 for 5 days adds up to a lot for a student in this community wanting to get an advanced education in Humboldt. And we ought to make it easier for students than that. Poor families cannot afford housing somewhere else during the higher education years. Yes, you can get the community degree here, but I think we really need to help students get to Humboldt for those 2 years that they need to finish for their degree. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the record, that was Eileen Cooper. Any other member of the public wishes to speak towards the public hearing of unmet transit needs? Okay, then we are going to leave the public hearing open. We'll continue it till the next meeting in July. See, we got them backwards already again. And at this time, then we're going to adjourn to the Policy Advisory Committee. And I would ask for a motion on the consent agenda.
Make that motion.
Can I get a second on the consent agenda?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda, which is items A through E, dealing with minutes, the overall work plan, the Transportation Development Act administration, and the Transportation Development Act pedestrian and bicycle projects. Any public comment on the consent agenda? Back to the board, and poll the vote, please.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Hemmingson?
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore?
Yes.
Policy Advisory Member Tucker?
Yes.
Chairman Finnegan?
Yes. Which takes us to policy administrative matters, and F is to designate the Consolidated Transportation Services Agency, the CTSA.
Mr. Short would like to vote on that.
I'll vote yes on that one, too.
Sorry, we shorted you on that.
That's good.
I've been
I was daring you.
working for many months. You know, do I ever know what's
So
going to
this is the way it's going to go.
People often ask me, what's going to happen in your meeting today?
Okay.
I have been working on the developing a partnership for the Consolidated Transportation Service Agency dedication and allocation for several months now. Things were somewhat accelerated by the fact that the Community Assistance League is changing the way it provides services to our community and has resigned its position as the CTSA. We've had several meetings with a group of folks representing the Health and Human Services, the Healthcare District, us, the Transportation Commission, the Community Health Center, the Open Door Community Health Center, and Sutter Coast Hospital, putting together a proposal to help bring our people home after they're flown out for medical emergencies or driven out for medical emergencies. And this proposed program is called the Patient Repatriation Program, and we don't have a lot of details yet about how it's going to work, what's going to happen, but we are continuing our conversations. The hospital expects to develop the program and have all systems in place by August 1st. My staff recommendation is that we adopt the resolution designating them the Consolidated Transportation Service Agency, and then awarded the funding to the hospital for the purposes of this program to move this collaborative forward.
Very good. Can I, was any discussion on this item? Okay, this was something that was brought up at the last Healthcare District Board meeting. There's actually a formula that you might want to briefly talk about.
Sure, that's in the page 2 of the staff report, is the funding concept is that the Health and Human Services will provide an in-kind contribution of $5,000. They have agreed to do that. The Healthcare District will make a contribution of half of the Transportation Commission's contribution. For this year, that'll be $13,513. The Transportation Commission's 5% of TDA, which is the amount allowable by statute, is $27,025 this year. That amount of funding is established by a formula, 5% of the TDA, as an estimate for income for the following fiscal year. So we receive an estimate from the state of California. It flows through the county auditor's office. I insert this formula into the estimate, and this is the number that comes up. The number has been, can be as low as 24,000. I've seen it as high as 32,000. It fluctuates depending on how state taxes are coming into our region. So our economy greatly impacts what this number might be.
Okay.
The Open Door Community Health Center has agreed to participate as in an advisory capacity at this time. I didn't know that, well, I didn't know a lot when I started this, but the Open Door Community Health Center provides many gas vouchers for folks in need already, so they're already making a significant contribution to non-emergency medical transportation. And then Sutter Coast Hospital has agreed to match in full the Transportation Commission's contribution. So we are developing a program with a first-year budget of $72,563, and we will be meeting on a quarterly basis to monitor the progress. We'll be setting up benchmarks. We'll be using the first year as a present level of performance, and we'll be measuring things as we move forward.
Perfect. Can I get a motion on that?
I just wanted to commend, Chair, if you don't mind, Tamara for working on this and being the liaison to make this happen. I know she's done a lot of legwork, and you are to be commended. So thank you very much, Tamara, because I don't think this would have happened if it wouldn't have been for your efforts.
You're welcome.
I do have a question, if I could.
Good.
It appears as though Resolution 21616 would be dependent on us passing 201615. Is the other also dependent? Is the funding need to be done before Sutter will accept this resolution, or are they tied together?
The action of each agency is independent of the other.
Okay.
So I can't report on what Sutter would do if we did not allocate the funding.
Okay.
I don't know. Everybody's coming to the table as an independent organization.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I get a motion on Resolution 2016-15 and 2016-16, please?
I would move for approval of both resolutions.
And can I get a second?
Second that motion.
And open it up to public comment. Public comment. Okay, back to the board. As I stated, I was at that meeting. I like that we're moving it through Sutter Coast because the very subtlety, the issue here is that repatriation acknowledges the fact that those patients still are the concern, and I don't want to say property, but they are the responsibility of Sutter. Just because they had to go out of the area doesn't release them of the fact that they are still under their care. And so this repatriation, it's the responsibility of Sutter, but rather than arguing about and complaining that Sutter's not doing something, I love the fact that we, through your efforts, are the catalyst here to mediate the solution, to find an unmet need, to serve the community, and to get the job done. And I thank you for it. Elizabeth?
I'm Elizabeth Burrows. I speak for the seniors. And for the quality of life you give us through Dollarite, we thank all of you. It makes us a part of the town. And then one thing we like to ask, if we would have one-day emergency. You know, sometimes there are emergencies the same day, and if you could get Dollarite for it, one-day emergency. Or,
Elizabeth, if you don't mind, I'm going to incorporate that in the public hearing comment section for unmet transit needs. And we're going to record that as well.
so I came on the wrong time?
No, you came at the perfect time.
Thank you again. Oh,
We're gonna put your name down twice, though.
You people don't realize what the quality of life we have. You know, we're spoiled. You know, and thank you again, everybody. And
Thank you, Elizabeth.
All of you look so handsome.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And that was Elizabeth Burrows. Chris, do you have something? Okay, any other comment from board members? Poll the votes, please.
Commissioner Short,
Yes.
Commissioner Murray,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore,
Yes.
Commissioner Hemmingson,
Yes.
Policy Advisory Member Tucker,
Yes.
Chairman Finnegan.
Yes. Okay, you may not realize it, but a lot of these, the good that happens in the community, especially the partnerships, flies way under the radar radar as this did. I hope it doesn't. I know there was a newspaper article complained that they only report the news, they don't make the news. Well, maybe they could report this. All right, let's go to G, response to 213-26. Hope there's not a, is there a reporter here?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Right there.
I saw you taking it, I said, oh, well, there you go. We always have fun at these meetings.
It's all about transparency.
All right, G is a response to the 2013-2016 TDA performance audit. What do you got?
We received the performance audit a couple months ago. I've done some research, some legwork. Before the end of this fiscal year, I'm bringing back to you a recommendation for a response to the performance audit. What happens with this response is that it gets filed and reviewed for the next performance audit to ensure that we have taken the steps that we said we were going to take as a result of the past performance audit. So the reviewer has 6 recommendations, which I've considered, and I've attached the responses. If you'd like for me to briefly go through them, I can, whatever you'd like for me to do.
Is there anything that we are not already aware of?
There's nothing that is not in writing before you.
Okay. Pleasure?
I'd make the motion to accept and authorize staff to implement the response to the 2013 through 2015 performance audit.
This is just consensus, right?
Yeah. So if in honoring the motion, unless there is any objection, we will by consent, unanimous consent, accept and authorize staff to implement the response to the 2013-2015 performance audit. Thank you very much. Discussion items, last chance grade. I think we all received an email just briefly recently before the meeting regarding Sebastian Cohen's response.
Right, so I made some copies I'll hand out.
Good. To ongoing emails, battery of emails going back and forth. And I'm going to let you briefly describe what's going on, that we are ahead of schedule, that everything's positive, the partnerships are working, et cetera, and what to expect by the end of this month.
What to expect by the end of this month is the project initiation documents for last chance grade. In brief, the project initiation documents define the cost, scope, and schedule of the anticipated project. That's essentially the role of the PID documents. There will be a lot of information in there. Alternatives will be considered, and we'll have it by June 30th, on or before is what the schedule is now. And regarding this email, if anybody who's not here at the meeting would like a copy of the information, I do plan on sending it to the Last Chance Group email list that I have. I just haven't gotten there yet. But it essentially this information clarifies what the proclamation means, the emergency proclamation. And it again clarifies. I thought that we were clear on it, but I received an email indicating that we were still not clear on it from Kurt Stremberg. So I requested, and Caltrans project manager Sebastian Cohen sent a very clear, what I think anyway, is a very clear response and answer to the questions asked.
Well, what wasn't said there, and I think some of us already know, the work that went on behind the scenes with Federal Highways, that they were out here for a couple of days, that they took a look before the emergency proclamation as to whether there was something that could be done to remediate that issue, like to dewater that mountain, and came to the conclusion, the work that they did, that there is no permanent fix that will work at Last Chance Grade, which is huge steps forward. They can't say it in such a way that it looks like it's been predetermined that the road will go around, but it has escalated the process significantly. So everybody needs to understand that. All righty. Thank you. Any other comments regarding this? All right, it'll stay in front of us as long as there's an election. Well, actually, it's been in front of us even before there was an election, and we'll continue. Commissioner comments and reports. What do we got?
So I brought some pictures, I think, if we can, Nicole, if we can try to get this on. So David Morgan provided me some information on May 16th. Caltrans initiated a work order to put some signage on 199 at post mile 10.35. Let me just work with Nicole to get those pictures up so I can describe what I'm talking about. So hopefully everybody can see the picture. At least do something quick to try to address some of the issues. So they put these chevrons at post mile 10.49 to try and provide some additional warning for drivers heading northbound that there is a curve and that hopefully people would slow down. So you'll notice the 45 mile per hour sign. This was installed also on the 16th in advance of the curve to provide some advance warning that indeed drivers need to slow down in this particular area. David Morgan, also from our traffic safety unit, wanted me to say that we have a work order that will, in 60 to 90 days, provide high friction surface treatment. I believe he mentioned that in the last meeting, which is a pretty effective way to keep cars on the road. It's a really grippy surface that will really help with that particular location. Considering that we don't know what is causing some of the collisions that are occurring in this area, that is one way to kind of help with this issue. So I just wanted to bring some of those pictures and give you an update on what's going on.
Thank you very much.
That high friction material, how does it affect motorcycles? Do motorcycles do okay with it? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard concern for motorcycles. It's, I mean, tires grip to the surface, so I can't imagine that there would be any issue with motorcycles.
Okay.
I mean, but it's not the treatment that makes the pavement chunky. That's,
Yeah, it's,
Well,
That-
I was concerned if it was a groove type, if there was any grooves or anything in it that.
well,
that
if you've
followed-
driven 101 through the Cushing Creek area,
I have,
you've
yeah.
noticed that
Yeah.
there's a different color to the
Yeah.
pavement. That's actually a high friction surface treatment. It's kind of it's not an open grade, so it's not like a rough material. It's actually the
No, I've seen, it's just hard to tell in
epoxy
a
that
car
they apply.
how that would be. I don't know if there's any, anytime it gets like a groove in it, I know that bothers motorcycles, that if there's a pattern to it, like going around a corner, and they don't actually follow a lot of times the same pattern as a car would. I just wonder if there's ever been any complaints. I was just asking because I don't know.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, good.
Chair. Just to be clear, this is just a temporary fix to a longer-term study potentially of this area?
Yeah, this was just, we felt like we needed to take immediate action, not knowing what exactly the problem is in that area. We do have the project initiated, so yes, that is a little bit farther out in terms of that taking action to, do some more serious work in the area. to, address some of the issues of shoulder width and things of that nature. This is just, the quickest thing that we can do, get out there, try and take action to address some of the issues.
Well, I appreciate Caltrans's response to those needs.
So the Federal Highway Administration says there are no negative safety effects for motorcycles and bicycles. High friction surface treatment, or HFST, provides a smoother riding surface and improved friction. It has been used for treatment of miles of bike lanes in the USA, and it has been applied as a safety countermeasure to specifically address curves and intersections with motorcycle crashes in the UK.
Cool, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Blake?
Google.
I'll just follow up because of the comments that were made by Mr. Haven today. I'm sure many of us have had those discussions with him and his family and others that have been involved with serious accidents at that intersection. I drive that area every night, and it doesn't seem like I go by without a month of something occurring there. And, after speaking with Steve Wakefield 3 weeks ago, that's him reporting to me that has become the most responded to location in Del Norte County for accidents by their department, just about made my jaw drop. So I'm glad to hear we're continuing down the course of trying to find some solutions for that area, even if it is something as substantial as a roundabout. And then my question for you, Director Layton, is I know the county has received funding, Community Development Department, specifically for county roads, and there's obviously an interaction with that intersection of county roads. Do you see a role in which the Community Development Department and their studies could play with this pool of money in helping to potentially expedite some interaction and work on that intersection?
Actually, I don't. The U.S. Highway 199 is the obligation of the state of California and the federal government, in essence, because it is a U.S. highway. And the county's role can be as a monitor, and they can encourage, as does the Transportation Commission. I think our most appropriate next step would really to go back to David Morgan, have a conversation with him about that specific location, have him take a second look at it, bring back some ideas about treatments to the community, maybe even have a public meeting so folks can come in and look at some options. I know that they have made many changes to that intersection and fewer changes to the Elk Valley Crossroad intersection at 101, which is also an area of concern. So maybe more public information, more public access to Caltrans safety so they can talk about what's happened, what they see happening. I think that would be a more appropriate next step. I don't think that the barrier is funding. I mean, there's always funding as a barrier, but I think the barrier has been to identify an acceptable countermeasure to the high accident rate that we have there. So if we got all the way through a development process, a research process to determine that we had problem X and it needed a solution Y, I think Caltrans would be able to fund that. But if they couldn't, then there is a potential that we could have a conversation. I don't think that any of our funding that we have available to us today has an eligible use on the state highway. So the funding that the county receives, the state highway system isn't, funding a project on the state highway system isn't an eligible use of that money, especially not for a safety project. So.
Okay, just trying to think outside the box, given that it seems like everything we've tried to date still hasn't prevented some significant and deadly accidents from occurring.
Right, I can get more information from Mr. Wakefield and maybe get the Caltrans safety and our our emergency responders together. Maybe we could have a more thorough conversation about what they see when they're at an accident site. I'm not sure. The California Highway Patrol is also very much responsible for accidents on the highway, as, you know, in their role as safety officers. So I think that they would be, certainly belong at that table. Maybe we could just convene a meeting and all of us sit down.
No, I think that's a great idea. You know, it makes it a tough spot right there. For those that know what's going on, it's the last place to try to pass before you get stuck in the turns, and which might exacerbate part of the issue as well. You know, so it's one of those, we have to do something about it. Be careful what you ask for, because it may end up being a one-lane road starting at the exit right there rather than the 2 lanes. But a roundabout would basically do the same thing, but for $30,000, $50,000 more. So, but I think we asked you to communicate with Caltrans, bring it back to this board, keep it on our high priority list, as well as communicate with the Havens.
So I think that what I'd like to do is, we have had last chance grade as a discussion item on every agenda up until now, and I think what I'd like to do is put this as a discussion item on every agenda until we move it forward to the point that we're comfortable.
Good idea.
It'll just keep it in all of our minds that we need to continue to address this. So if we talk about it monthly, we may be able to make more progress.
Good.
So I'll do that.
Well, and it also shows up in the minutes for Caltrans as well, so it's great.
Thank you.
Kevin? Aaron? Jerry? Nope, I already reported out all the stuff regarding the hospital and stuff in those meetings. So with that, I'm going to adjourn back to the Policy Advisory Committee, or actually, no, I'm going to ask for action on the recommendations of the Policy Advisory Committee. Can I get such a motion?
Move to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to act on the actions of the Policy Advisory Committee. All poll the vote, please. A public comment? One last bite? No? Poll the vote, please.
Commissioner Hemmingson?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Short?
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Chairman Finnegan?
Thank you. Yes. And with that, we're going to adjourn to our next regularly scheduled meeting, which will be
July 14th. Is it wrong in
yeah,
there?
well, see, now I wanted to adjourn today's meeting since I was
Sorry.
already meeting in July.
Typo on my agenda, I will correct that. It's July 14th.
Right, so we'll see everybody July 14th. At that time, we'll hear a report on the PID from Caltrans regarding Last Chance. Great, good stuff. Meeting adjourned.
Good job.